What's up, guys? It's John, and today we've got someone special here with me. This is John Hauptman from PHLster, and essentially I just came down to the shop. He made an access holster for me. It's one of his new products. It's really, really cool, and also something special that you guys will see in a little while. And what I wanted to do is just kind of talk to John about who he is, what the company's all about, etc., etc. So John, why don't you give these guys a little intro to who PHLster is, where you came from, how the idea started, and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, first I want to thank you for coming down and visiting the shop. The first time we met was actually back in January.
Yep.
In Las Vegas, despite
which
the fact
is kind of odd, yeah.
Right, despite the fact that we're both Pennsylvania YouTubers. Who
yeah, I'm only about an hour away from here, where he is here in Philadelphia.
So our first time meeting was thousands of miles away in a Denny's on the Las Vegas Strip. Yeah. So, you know, we kept in touch after that and made it a point to like reconnect.
It's awesome. It's awesome to be able to do that. You know, that's not something that everybody out there gets to experience is, hey, I saw this guy online, we have similar ideas, you know, we think kind of similarly, and I met him on the other side of the world, and now we're hanging out again.
Right. So at any rate, PHLster started entirely by accident, and I think not only is what we're getting involved in kind of like a statement of the power of YouTube, but this whole business is by far. A few years ago, I started carrying a gun in Philadelphia for self-defense, and what I was observing was that the holsters that I wanted were really expensive and took too long. And I said to myself, well, in the 18 weeks it's going to take to get this, if
18
or whatever, like
wow.
the
right, whatever absurd number it was.
The top of the line companies had wait times because they're making something good. And I said, if I can't figure this out in 18 weeks, then I would be ashamed of myself. So I got online. I started looking for. Hey,
dude,
you want some ice cream?
He's got like an amplifier on that thing. It's so loud.
You can get other stuff on the Mr. Softy truck in this neighborhood.
What, like Handy J's or Blowies or
like street pharmaceuticals?
Oh wow!
Yeah, welcome to Philly. So at any rate, I was looking around online, and there were some like picture tutorial walkthroughs that were pretty basic, and what I started doing was one of the things that I had learned just doing anything else. I had been a mechanic for a few years, and the idea was that part of the learning process is learning from other people's mistakes too. If something comes in that nobody's ever seen before, you watch somebody else make all the mistakes on that car, and then you know to avoid them later. So I said, my project is going to be that I'm going to document my learning process with this Kydex, and if it sucks, it sucks. And if I make mistakes, other people will say, I know what to avoid now. But as things went along, I mean, the YouTube community chimed in and said, hey, I'm making Kydex holsters too, here's a tip, here's some pointers, and I took some of those and developed stuff, and
That's one of the wonderful things about YouTube is that not only do people get to learn from you, but they can also interact and kind of give you tips to make your stuff better.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the troll to help ratio is very wide. For like every 0.01 trolls you get 100 helpful, friendly people.
Yeah, there are a lot of good people out there that just want to help you and make the community itself, firearm owning people in general, better.
Yeah, and that translated into like a lot of things. Not only would people like write in with helpful comments and suggestions and tips, and as the holsters themselves got better, people started sending in actual equipment, like, hey, I made this belt loop jig to help you make belt loops better, and I we'll still use some of those today, like years later.
That's awesome.
And presses. It turned out there was a guy who lived down in South Philly who's like, hey, I watch your YouTube channel, and I have guns, and I've been dabbling in this. I've made you 2 of these presses.
Wow.
Yeah, and we just got another new press the other day.
From the same guy?
From a different fellow.
Okay.
It's a different design with a crank on the top, and we're testing that out for the guy. Going to give him some feedback.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. And then once we had the process really dialed in, we started just spontaneously getting orders. People said, I like your gear, I want to buy this from you.
You're right, I want to pay you to make that kind of quality for me.
Yeah, and that really took off. I mean, it overwhelmed my full-time job, and so I started, I took the plunge and started doing it full-time. And then that turns into an opportunity for companies to say, hey, we supply Kydex, how would you like to get involved with us?
Right,
and it just opens,
wait for it.
Yeah, like really opens a lot of doors. Now, so I sort of started off saying, oh, these prices and wait times are too high. And now I'm, running a small company with 2 employees and myself, and I'm like, my prices and wait times are too high.
It's kind of blown up, man.
Yeah.
To watch you, I've been paying attention to what you do for quite a while now, and to watch you go from someone that was kind of just learning and sharing the knowledge and growing in the knowledge to someone that is respected community-wide as kind of a guru. People look to you as a Kydex guru, and that's wonderful to see. Whether or not you see it directly is different, but I mean, there are so many times when I've been talking to somebody about a Kydex holster or accessory in Kydex or something of that nature, and your name comes up, PHLster comes up. It's freaking awesome to see that people respect you that much.
It's really cool, and I credit entirely the persistence of like sharing the information.
Right.
I can't tell you how many people said, "Oh, you've started a business. You got to take these videos down."
Right, and that
like,
was really interesting. I've talked to people about it, and they always say, "I wonder how it works," because you've essentially, not everything is out there. Not everything that makes your product special is out there. However, a good portion of where you came from and the things you learned is on your YouTube channel, and people could easily take that and do the same thing, and some people have.
A lot of people have. I mean, the stuff that people email to me, like, hey, we've started making holsters, here's our first holster, or here's one of the first, dozen holsters we made, they're really, really good. And to be perfectly honest, we put everything out there.
Right.
Where we get the material, how to do stuff. But, I mean, we can tell people, hey, craftsmanship and attention to detail are important.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they follow through on that is entirely
right. That's
up to them.
very true. Very true.
But how to if you have a craftsmanship or attention to detail oriented goal, we have the process that can help you get there.
Right.
And people email all the time. But I'm sure like the reason has to do with one of these sort of like Freakonomics style economic thinking,
mm-hmm.
Where if you do the opposite,
it seems to be working out for you.
It's bizarre.
You've not only educated your customers by showing them exactly what you do and how you got to where you are, but you've come up with some really interesting, innovative products for them to purchase if they don't necessarily have the means or desire to go out and do it for themselves. Well, and that's a wonderful thing.
I was actually having an interesting little email exchange with Jim Fuller from Rifle Dynamics. I saw that I followed them on Facebook, and I saw that they were posting those build your own AK classes, where you can go to Rifle Dynamics and learn AK craftsmanship from the leaders in the industry. Right. Which is really cool. And
that's really interesting.
I was having an exchange with him, and I was saying, somebody from this class is going to go home and build these rifles in their basement and have a lot of success at it and start, doing this kind of gunsmithing for their friends. And, what the interesting thing about that is that ultimately what's going to happen is that for every person who goes ahead and has their success with that, mm-hmm. what you've done is you've educated the industry in regards to what goes into this process.
Right, and what makes it
what
that
you should
much
be
better.
Looking for.
Right,
you know, it's like,
and that's
like people who are really into wine will go to a vineyard and learn how it's made. Mm-hmm. You know, so then they can consume the product with a greater degree of knowledge.
Exactly, and educating people and showing them what to look for is something that, as far as I've found, people are constantly looking for.
Absolutely.
People always want to know, I'm going to buy X. What do I look for that lets me know that X is the best that I can buy for my money?
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing.
Or, you know, what sets them apart, or what to look like, how you can make an educated choice between, like, 4 or 5 top tier products. You know?
And what separates them, what's different about them, etc.
Yeah. So getting back to the sort of like long wait times and big prices things, I've always been, you know, having started kind of being counter to that, and also being counter to kind of like, you know, quality Kydex is like a secret process, which is, you know, voodoo and you can never do it. Because it's not, and I think people shouldn't rely on it being secret in order for them to be successful at it.
I agree.
Now, one of the things that I've always been cognizant of is that our business started very contrary to that. So as we grew, I started to see things, you know, like our full-size outside the waistband holsters started to take forever to get made because there's only a few of us, and, you know, the demand goes up, and then, you know, in order to try and curb, if you can't, it's hard. Hiring people is really expensive, and we're doing our best. So if the demand for something goes up and there's only so much supply, you kind of have to raise the price and then raise the wait time. And I was encroaching onto the territory that I wasn't comfortable being in.
Right.
I'm like, I don't believe this should cost this much or take this long. And frankly, while they are like, they're quality, we put a lot of time and attention into them, we've kind of made that quality accessible. Like, the number of people who are making those pancake holsters for themselves is probably uncountable at this point.
It's astounding how many people are out there trying their own stuff. It's
and
really
it's good,
neat to
and
see.
a lot of it's really good. A lot of it's really, really good, in fact. Right? Like, the number of people who are making like really, really quality holsters, maybe even as a result of the videos that we've been putting out, is a really large number. And I didn't feel like it was reasonable for us to continue to make what amounted to essentially generic pancake holsters, especially once they get into the realm of the wait times and prices that I thought were unacceptable. I think that while it is important to pay for craftsmanship, I think there is a maximum price that you should be paying for a Kydex holster.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. It's not as though once you pass the $100 mark, you start getting them made out of unicorns. I mean, it's still going to be the same Kydex that...
It's the same Kydex you can buy. It's the same Kydex
that I buy.
Right.
It doesn't have, you know, any magical or special properties at all. Even though it is really well made and it's very high quality and from a reputable manufacturer who uses, you know, all the same quality components that anybody else can use. I just, like, I don't want to see people paying a whole ton of money for that stuff. I think it's like past the point of where the value is.
Right. You feel that, you know, once you get to a certain level, it's surpassing what it's actually worth.
Right.
And now, to some people, value is definitely in the eye of the beholder.
Absolutely.
So some people will definitely pay that, as we've seen plenty of people paying cheaper than dirt, you know, $100 for a box of 9mm, even though they're scumbags and don't deserve your money.
Right. But at the end of the day, no matter how much anybody ever charged for a pair of Jordans, they made 0 people jump higher.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. A good holster is not going to make you a better shot or a faster draw or anything like that. It's up to the end user.
Right. So what we decided to do was, given the fact that our outside the waistband holsters were, in my opinion, pretty standard, and that in order to sustain their production, we would have to get into the realm of too much money and too much time, we decided to cut them back and focus on smaller products that we could still deliver at a reasonable price, that were a little more unique and innovative. Right.
And what he's referring to, guys, are his new, the Access line of holsters and the skeleton holsters, primarily. So why don't you explain a little bit about those?
So, what's important for us is that we can make products with which we identify, you know, some sort of authority. Being that I'm going to make holsters that facilitate the way I carry and the way I train, and I'm going to focus on those products. Because if I stray from that, then where's my authority to make this gear? And I think that's fair. Like, you know, in the past we've done some experimentation with like other kinds of gear in terms of like just you know, for our own selves to determine what's like technically possible. Like, hey, let's make some Molly gear or whatever. I never wear any of that stuff. And like, where's my authority to make that? You know, so I'm going to focus on stuff that I know I can use every day and say, hey, I use this every day and I put it through absolute hell. And, you know, the people that I associate with use this stuff every day and they've run classes and they put it through absolute hell. So I thought it would be important for us to make gear that focuses on that. In addition to being simple enough for us to make, universal enough for us to make, that it's still available to the customer.
Right, and you can produce it in a reasonable amount of time at a reasonable cost.
We're still working on the time thing as we get the production down. Because I got to tell you something. If you're going to start your own business, have a plan. I can tell you that right now. So I was like, yeah, definitely have a plan, because most of the growing pains that we've had as a business are like just keeping up with the Pandora's box that we've opened here.
Yeah.
Which I'm definitely not complaining about, but please, for our customers, bear with us as we learn how to run a business. So, yeah, I mean, what we decided to do was make just streamline our product line. If we're making mag carriers, they're going to be more universal,
right,
easier to produce, not like these like gigantic, complex, like double, triple, quadruple mag carriers.
Right. And keep in mind, guys, that doesn't mean that because it's quote unquote universal or more universal than something like you know, a quadruple mag carrier. Just because it's a little bit more universal than that does not mean that the quality or consistency drops.
No, absolutely not. We our first priority in everything is that it works, period. The second priority is that the craftsmanship is maintained. Mm-hmm. Like, everything has to do what we want it to do first. So at any rate, if we're saying that something is less expensive or more universal, that doesn't mean that we're getting into the territory of like injection molded junk that doesn't work. We make sure that, you know, when we set out to set a goal for a product, that it meets those goals. Mm-hmm. So even though we make like a double stack single mag carrier, it still has the same meticulous fit and finish and the same attention to detail, and everything is checked before it goes out the door to make sure that it works, that it fits, right, that the retention's right.
And guys, I've seen this firsthand, you know, while I've been here today, working on a few different things. The attention to detail has never ceased to amaze me. They go, oh, I don't really like that. I don't feel comfortable with that. I want to make it better. So they go ahead and they make it better. They make it right for the end user. That's you guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason that we're always like scaling. The biggest challenge for me has been to sort of like scale the price so that neither you or I are cheated on this.
Right.
That we're not winding up in a situation where I have to cut corners about anything in order to deliver it to you in like a you know, the time or the price that we promised. I mean, right, the reason we run over our wait times, estimated wait times, is because we're not going to send anything out that we're not happy with. And if that means that things wind up, we get like a little bit of backlog, you're going to be happier at the end of it. Because
that's 100% true.
I think you'll be happier if you know, something happens and you wait maybe 5 or 6 weeks when we said 4, and it's perfect, than if you wait 4 weeks and it's, you know, sloppy somehow. So, right, I mean, it's a balance, but, you know, we're still working out the logistics of that, and we're like developing systems and tools and whatnot for ourselves that are going to make that easier going forward.
Right, and you guys are constantly striving to do things the best you can for your customers, and yeah, just make a better overall product.
Right, that's all there is. I mean, at the end of the day, this is life-saving equipment.
Right, and if people are not happy with it, if it doesn't function well for them, then it's kind of a wash.
Yeah,
I mean, means, you know, it kind of defeats what you're out to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it goes beyond just like a business or reputation issue. It's if I'm making something that doesn't work for you, you're going to be carrying your life-saving equipment that doesn't quite work, and that's not
right. That's not what you want to do.
Patently unacceptable.
Right, right. So guys, I will have a review coming on the PHLster Access holster. I've got one on my side right now for my HK45. I'm going to take a look at that, kind of an extended review kind of thing. Hopefully we'll be getting back with John here in the near future. I don't know when that's going to be, but it's been great to be here today, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming out, man.
And guys, go check them out, youtube.com, PhillyEDC, and PHLster.com, and you're on Facebook as well?
Yep, facebook.com/PhilSter.
Facebook, Instagram. Are you on Twitter at all?
Yep.
Twitter, everywhere.
We don't tweet, though, Justin.
Anyway, guys, that's it for today. As always, thank you for watching.
Thanks for stopping by.